Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Ya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Kishore Kishore, Jaya Kishore Kishore, Jaya Kishore Kishore, Jaya Kishore Kishore. Jaya Jai Jagannath, Jaya Jai Jagannath, Jaya Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra, Jai Jagannath. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Om Vishnu Padaya Paramahamsa Parivekacharya Asatarastada Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Padaya Paramahamsa Parivekacharya Asatarastada Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj Ki Jai. All glories to the assemble of devotees. All glories to the assemble of devotees. All glories to the assemble of devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Panchakapatarbhyascha kripasindhuvasavacha patiyanam pavanadi vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 10, Verse 16. Nityam kshut kshama dehasya daridrasyana kankshinaha indriyani anususyanti himsapi vinivartate. Nityam kshut kshama dehasya daridrashyana kankshinaha indriyani anususyanti himsapi vinivartate. Nityam kshut kshama dehasya daridrashyana kankshinaha indriyani anususyanti himsapi vinivartate. Nityam kshut kshama dehasya daridrashyana kankshinaha indriyani anususyanti himsapi vinivartate. Yam kshut kshama dehasya daridrashyana kankshinaha indriyani anususyanti himsapi vinivartate. Yam kshut kshama dehasya daridrashyana kankshinaha indriyani anususyanti vinivartate. Nityam kshut kshama dehasya daridrashyana kankshinaha yani anususyanti himsapi vinivartate. Nityam kshut kshama dehasya daridrashyana kankshinaha indriyani anususyanti himsapi vinivartate. Anyone else who'd like to chant? Kshut kshama dehasya daridrashyana kankshinaha indriyani anususyanti himsapi vinivartate. Thank you very much. Word by word translation. Nityam, always. Kshut, with hunger. Kshama, weak, without necessary strength. Dehasya, of the body of a poor man. Daridrasya, poverty stricken. Anna kankshinaha, always desiring to get sufficient food. Indriyani, the senses, which are compared to snakes. Anususyanti, gradually become weaker and weaker with less potency. Hamsa api, the tendency to be envious of others. Vinivartate, reduces. Translation: always hungry, longing for sufficient food, a poverty-stricken man becomes weaker and weaker. Having no extra potency, his senses are automatically pacified. A poverty-stricken man therefore is unable to perform harmful, envious activities. In other words, such a man automatically gains the results of the austerities and penances adopted voluntarily by saintly persons. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. According to the opinion of experienced medical practitioners, diabetes is a result of voracious eating, and tuberculosis is a disease of undereating. We should desire neither to be diabetic nor to be tubercular. Yavad artha prayojanam. We should eat frugally and keep the body fit for advancing in Krishna consciousness. As recommended elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Verse 10, Kamasya nendriya pritir labho jiveta yavata jivasya tattva igyasa nartoyas cheha karma bihi. The real business of human life is to keep oneself fit for advancement and spiritual realization. Human life is not meant for making the senses unnecessarily strong, so that one suffers from disease and one increases in an envious fighting spirit. In this age of Kali, however, human civilization is so misled that people are unnecessarily increasing the economic development, and as a result they are opening more and more slaughterhouses, liquor shops and brothels. In this way, the whole civilization is being spoiled. Thank you for letting me speak again today. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm glad you're here. This is a very interesting verse. It's a continuation of a chapter entitled Deliverance of the Yamala Arjuna trees. And here in this particular verse, Narada Muni, who is one of the 12 authorities on religion, Mahajans, is instructing the two sons of Kuvera, Alakuvara and Manigriva. He's instructing them because they committed an offense and they misbehaved, and that was discussed earlier. Narada Muni travels everywhere, anywhere in the material universe and beyond, and he spreads the glories of Lord Krishna. It seems from this verse that I was reading it the other day that it seems like being not materially well-to-do is conducive to spiritual life, and being opulent or wealthy tends to bring living entities into this mode of sensual enjoyment, gambling, women eating, overeating. Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport the consequences of such behavior. And the two sons of Kuvera are the prime examples. Although they were demigods, they were intoxicated by their opulence, and then they lost respect, lost sense of spiritual life, and they made offenses, committed offenses. Why is it that when one is poverty-stricken, one tends to be more spiritual? Well, it's explained that the senses are weaker and they have less potency, and one is unable to enjoy the senses so much, eating and running around and trying to build up one's career. There's less resources, less energy, and things like that. And one has less energy to commit sinful activities as well. One's trying to just survive, make ends meet. Krishna explains the different types of austerities, and in chapter 17, and we will discuss that a little bit later. What's important, I think, is to realize that Srila Prabhupada makes a little he makes a little bit of a gives us a better idea, because the demigods were lived on the higher planets, and they were demigods, and human beings on earth are in a different situation. And so Srila Prabhupada mercifully gives us the essence of spiritual life by explaining that the most important, the essence of all austerities and the goal of one's life is to serve Lord Shri Krishna. The situation of demigods is a little bit different. They may be aware of Krishna, of Vishnu, and they may be there's technically called Sakama bhaktas, or those devotees who are materially oriented. So many demigods, even on the higher posts like Brahma and Indra, they become bewildered and commit offenses. For example, Lord Indra became very actually envious of Krishna, and he lost the proper vision, seeing Krishna as the supreme God, and he offended him and his devotees. And Brahma also wanted to outsmart Krishna, wanted to steal Krishna's cows and his cowherd boyfriends. Obviously they were not successful, and Krishna brought those two demigods to their senses, so they apologized, and again their sense of spirituality returned. But Srila Prabhupada directs the purport to devotees on earth, so they focus on unalloyed, undivided service to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada mentions that we just have to keep the body fit for God's service. And Lord Krishna also differentiates three types of austerity. He lists three types of austerity in Bhagavad Gita chapter 17, verse 17 through 19. I'll just read the English here. Chapter 17. He talks about the austerity and the mode of goodness. This threefold austerity means austerity with your body, mind, and austerity of speech. So this threefold austerity performed with transcendental faith by men not expecting material benefits, but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme, is called austerity and goodness. So Krishna explains that to Arjuna in chapter 17, and also Srila Prabhupada keeps this essence. For devotees on earth, the most important thing is to keep the body and spirit together and use it in God's service. Also, Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that one should neither stay in the mode of overeating or undereating. One may get sick By not eating enough, you can get sick, and by overeating, you can get sick. Usually, in our society, here in the West, it's the one extreme where most people are unhealthy, ate too much, the wrong kind of food, and they they become diseased. And actually, there's a lot of diabetes. A lot of diabetes going around, high blood pressure, and all other diseases, illnesses of the modern world. So Srila Prabhupada says, so why should neither overeat or undereat? To me, Srila Prabhupada hints to a life of balance and moderation. Lord Krishna speaks about that in chapter 6, which is about Dhyana Yoga, verses 16 through 17. A life of balance is explained to Arjuna by Krishna. Lord Shri Krishna says, there's no possibility of one's becoming a yogi or Arjuna if one eats too much, eats too little, sleeps too much, or does not sleep enough. And in the next verse it is explained that he who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. And then the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains what it means to a bhakti yogi, what it means to be regulated like that. So my little realization was that Srila Prabhupada hints in the purport to this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, hints at that life of balance and moderation, while keeping your mind and heart at the feet of Lord Krishna, while doing our activities. Srila Prabhupada quotes this nice verse from Srimad Bhagavatam in the purport. It says that one should not make senses unnecessarily strong, where there will be a disease and an increase in envious fighting spirit. So that kind of rings true. I want to just give you an example. In today's world of sports, many athletes consume huge amounts of food and supplements to enhance their performance. They want to compete and win, and improve and win. Just an example, I was reading years ago about Michael Phelps, one of the best swimmers, probably arguably the best swimmer in the history, in modern history. He was consuming approximately 2,000 calories of just energy drinks, and on top of that he was eating his 3 square meals or more. Take for example bodybuilding. Bodybuilders who show their muscles on stage, they eat between 6,000 to 10,000 calories per day. Just to give you an idea, an average man consumes 2,000 calories per day to feel some, good energy and go to work and things like that. So those bodybuilders eat between 6,000 to 10,000 calories per day. So they feast and they work hard, and then when the time comes to be on stage, just 2 or 3 days before their show, they deprive themselves of food and they do not eat or drink for 2 or 3 days. They want to dehydrate the muscle, so the muscle is not overlaid by fat tissue and the muscle shows nicely on stage. So in this way they undergo austerities. They feast, they eat, overeat, and then they undereat. So tapasya, feast and fast, hard work, but they do it for themselves, for their families, for their gym, for their nation, Olympic athletes, and ultimately they may get sick, I'll give you a story from my work life. I work with a colleague who was a professional bodybuilder. He came from Europe. He was a national champion over there. He came to Europe. He came from Europe to the States, and we worked together at this one fitness facility. So he came here to, to make some money and then be successful in the West in bodybuilding. So sometimes he was eating a lot, and I would notice him in the break room. And at times he was fasting. He was undergoing this fast of no water, no carbohydrates, no sugars first, and then no water, just before getting on stage. And he would still come to work, and on those days he was so tired that he could not even sit and train his clients, his students. He would even lie down or sit in the corner because he was so tired from this fasting and dehydration. But he wanted to do it for his to win that trophy, to become well known, be successful in the West, in the bodybuilding. So we were colleagues, and then he changed his job, and he became devoted to bodybuilding more. And a few years later, I found out that he passed away, and I was very surprised. I was very sad. I didn't know about it. Someone told me that he passed away. He was in his 40s. So these, you can see these athletes and bodybuilders, they may undergo severe austerities. They may eat a lot and then fast, and their health, they're not healthy really, not in the long term, not in the long run. They may be healthy and look magnificent for a short period of time, and they're doing it for themselves, for their families and the nation or the team they represent. But they are willing to put their health and life at stake and undergo these severe austerities. And devotees also, to contrast that story with how devotees are also undergo tapasya and austerities. They fast when there's a holiday for Krishna. They focus on Krishna, and they also feast. And there's a nice feast after each festival, each holy day. So they do it for Krishna. The ultimate benefit is they become freed from the material desires that all the other the whole world is bound by material desires. So so as I was saying earlier, the topmost austerity is to do everything for Lord Krishna and use our bodies in the service of Krishna. So devotee's life is like that. There's a big difference. There's the ultimate austerity, and we derive much pleasure from feasting for Krishna and fasting for Krishna. We're happy, I remember the faces of those bodybuilders or athletes when they train hard and the event is coming, and they're like very sometimes unhappy and very off balance. And devotees are very happily waiting for Krishna's birthday, appearance day, Lord Chaitanya's appearance day, different saints, and they fast and feast, and they're happy whether they're fasting or they're feasting. So there's a big difference. They're working on from a different platform. And also in the process of fasting and feasting, undergoing austerities, devotees are willing to try various material projects, starting Like we have a nice, our temple is trying to start a bhakti loft, um, which is actually a spiritual endeavor, but I'd like to maybe give a different example. Maybe someone is starting a business to maintain their families, and maybe they're hoping that because the business goes well, they will be willing to give a nicer donation to the Krishna temple. Different endeavors, but devotees undergo attempt these endeavors. They're not condemned. They're encouraged because we're still allowed to work according to our capacities and talents and offer the results of our activities to Krishna. It kind of ties in with my other lecture from 2 weeks ago about Yukta Vairagya, practical renunciation, that nothing is condemned, really. Well, there are some extreme activities that should not be used or performed. However, in general, everything works as long as the consciousness is right and we do it for Krishna. I think in Srila Prabhupada's times, Srila Prabhupada also did not even condemn science. The devotees are engaged in studying science, and he appreciated many scientists in our congregation who were devotee scientists who would meet with materialistic scientists and meet them at their level, and in this way try to convince them and enlighten them about the higher purpose of science. So Srila Prabhupada, for example, would encourage some devotees to become involved in science and other projects just for the purpose of becoming professionals and being able to meet certain audiences at their level, and in this way enlighten them that yes, we are still doing science, and we're still scientists, we're still business owners, we're still this and that, but we are doing it with the higher purpose of serving the Lord, and we see the higher purpose, and we do everything in moderation. Also, what's happening in the world these days is there's a polarization of consciousness in the population nationwide. Many people are becoming very health conscious and spiritually conscious. They want to live a healthy life, a life of balance. They become interested in Eastern medicine, become interested in yoga and cooking, Eastern Chinese medicine cooking. It's becoming popular. Meditation, Eastern meditation is very popular these days. And then on the other extreme, we have very materialistic individuals in our society. But there seems to be a polarization of, it's becoming very like black and white. Okay, these societies, these kind of people are really into vegetarianism or veganism and meditation. They want to be eco-friendly and things like that, and it becomes very very clear demarcation between these. There's not so many gray areas anymore. There's like a tendency that some devotees actually noticed and actually wrote. I think someone was saying, who was that? Satyaraj Das, one of our great devotees, and who is into bridge, a lot of bridge preaching. He does. He writes books that are geared towards making other audiences other than devotees familiar with Vedic culture, and he writes books that are meant for bridge preaching, or bringing people who are not devotees, making them familiar with Krishna consciousness, with Vedic culture. So I think he made that note in quite a few of his books. So I'd like to give you an example that our society is very thirsty for those healthy alternatives. of life, and Vedic culture and Krishna consciousness can offer that. I like to give you an example from Ayurveda, which ties in with the life of balance, and that Krishna mentions in chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, how to use everything in moderation for the sake of the Supreme. So Ayurveda is the Indian medicine and becoming very popular in the West. I'm thinking that many devotees become very expert in yoga and Ayurveda and meditation, vegetarian cooking, and we can bring these pieces of Vedic knowledge and present them in a nice package to those who are not devotees, and also inject some Krishna consciousness. It has to be done very expertly. So this example from Ayurveda is that Ayurveda is a very comprehensive system of medicine. For example, many people in our society, they want balance in life. They want to feel energy. They want to feel happy. So they may not be ready to become devotees right away. They may not be ready to start chanting. But for example, Ayurveda teaches that in order to keep your mind clear, you should always wake up before. Keep your mind clear and joyful. It is always good to wake up in the morning before sunrise and take a cool shower. So that's a good principle. And many people who may not be familiar, with Vedic culture, may not be devotees, they sleep over. They sleep through the sunrise, and they may not take a shower. They may not do any yoga or exercise before they go to work. So another thing that Ayurveda teaches is it is good to perform yoga stretches and before you even eat or go to work. That improves your energy levels and everything flows nicely. Then also Ayurveda teaches that it is good to perform breathing exercises, pranayam, after you do yoga and before you go to work. And also Ayurveda teaches that it is good to do meditation. It is good to do meditation, either a visual meditation or oral meditation, where you hear a mantra or say it to yourself or play it. There are even many apps these days where you can download and you hear some mantra, or you hear. I even have a friend who has this app that actually the watch will tell him when to take a break for like a minute and start breathing deeply, because otherwise people get caught up in their life, in their duties, and they don't have time to even breathe deeply. So the watch will vibrate and says, "Oh, it's time to breathe." And at one time we were working out, and he was just, "Oh, I have to take a break. I have to breathe now. The watch is telling me to breathe now." So that was pretty kind of funny, but it was good. But that shows the tendency of our society to become very aware of this healthier alternative to live. And so Ayurveda also teaches you to, before you go to work, after you take your shower and you do some stretching and do some breathing, you also meditate. And Ayurveda very expertly gives you different types of meditation and different types of mantras based on your constitution. So here's some room for our devotees to actually present some literature about Krishna, so it's more visual, and present some mantras that mentions Krishna name. We can present it to the audience, and this would be fall under the umbrella of Vedic culture, and not only that, but it's also directly Krishna conscious. So Ayurveda can be used like that. Ayurveda also teaches us to eat according to your constitution. Not only that, but Ayurveda also teaches you to eat in the right consciousness, to not be talking on your phone. Don't be thinking about what just happened at work, or do not be thinking about what you're about to do. Just focus on the process of eating and enjoy. Or give thanks to the Supreme for giving you the food, and devotees can relate to that easily. There's a nice verse in Bhagavad Gita about offering the foodstuffs to Krishna before eating. So we can also introduce that under the umbrella of Ayurveda. That yes, conscious eating, giving thanks to God, to nature for giving us this food, these ingredients. We can introduce some of the principles of Krishna consciousness. And also Ayurveda teaches us about eating, and not only according to your constitution, but eating according to the three modes of nature, which Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. I think it's chapter 4, if I'm not mistaken. Three modes of nature. 14. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. So it teaches us about foods in the mode of goodness, foods in the mode of passion. So Ayurveda is you can tie it into Ayurveda. Ayurveda teaches if you want to be a yogi, if you want to live a life of a yogi, which devotees are technically, we're yogis, we're bhakti yogis. You should eat your food should be in the mode of goodness. We can also introduce that element to non-devotee audience. So if you're practicing yoga, might as well eat in the mode of goodness. That's what's recommended in Ayurveda. That's what's recommended in Bhagavad Gita. And then your consciousness will adapt nicely to the goal of feeling fully rejuvenated, feeling at peace. And Krishna explains that everything starts from peace. If you don't have peace, you cannot feel love. So there are so many aspects of Ayurveda that can be presented to a non-devotee audience and encourage them to adopt this lifestyle of moderation and common sense and a very wise way to live. This way our society at large becomes more familiar with Vedic culture and with Krishna consciousness. It's our chance to present our techniques of meditation and our stories about Krishna, and we have so many things to offer. Vedic culture is so rich, and Krishna consciousness is so rich. So in conclusion, I'd like to say that we can accommodate all these different types of audiences if we present it the right way. And like I said, many people may not be ready to take up this bhakti yoga lifestyle, but they may be ready to take up some of the lifestyles of Ayurvedic lifestyles, Vedic lifestyles that bring them one step closer to becoming fully fledged devotees. They might be eating in the mode of goodness, they might become vegetarian, they may be saying some mantra that is Vedic. It may not be the Hare Krishna mantra. So that brings them closer to our family. And they are our family. They're just maybe a little bit forgetful, maybe busy with other things. Like those athletes and bodybuilders, and very busy and undergoing a lot of austerity, but we can teach them to perform this austerity with mindfulness and with good perspective. From a good perspective, we can perform austerities for the sake of the Supreme. And it is a lifestyle. It's approved by the oldest scriptures on planet Earth. Our system is approved by Bhagavad Gita, by so many different scriptures. And Ayurveda is so popular in the West, and there may quite a few devotees who are Ayurvedic experts, and they can easily present Krishna consciousness by using the Ayurvedic tool. So let's share this Krishna consciousness culture with others, and make Srila Prabhupada very happy, and bring more people invite them into our family of Krishna devotees. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'll be very happy to answer any questions. Hare Krishna. Vanchaka Patarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyasagacha Bhajinam Pavanam Vaishnavim.
The other mic is gone, so it's a mystery. It disappears. I'll return it. Please forgive me for not organizing my thoughts. But you made a lot of wonderful. Wonderful points. This verse particularly talks about. I looked at the verse yesterday. Unfortunately, I don't have the Bhagavatam with me right now, but it talks about envy. It says, essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, when one is forced to do austerities through some difficulty, like Nalakuvana Managiri occurs, then one is not thinking about competition. If you're on your deathbed and you have cancer, you're not going to think about who's getting more popularity than me, which I really appreciate, and to keep in mind that actually at every moment we're on our deathbed, but since we don't have any particular obvious disease, then we consider so many things important, which is competition, competing with others. And you were mentioning, just like there's many cases of that. Like Ramachandra Khan, he was thinking, I have money. How is Haridasa more popular than me? Durvasa Muni was thinking, I'm a renunciate. How is Ambarish, a rich king, more popular than me? Etc. So many things that we consider important when we don't keep things in mind that we're on our deathbed at every moment. So these things are really stupid. So you were also mentioning, I'll try to relate to this point, you were also mentioning that there's an app for reading. Yeah, sometimes when somebody's so busy, there's an app that lets them know it's time to read, etc. And we see in the Bhagavatam that Krishna also says, we should map out some time to read and build our character. Unfortunately, what Queen Kunti says in the Bhagavatam, the famous verse that devotees mentioned recently, Jama Aishwarya Shuta Shribir, Edamana Madhapuman, Naiva Harti Abidatum Vai, Swam Akinshana Goshana, when one is too intoxicated and mad from their material opulences, beauty, fame, riches, even renunciation I was mentioning, then it's not really like, why do I have to build character? I'm accustomed to everything going my way. I always get my way. I've always gotten my way, and I will always get my way. I don't need to build character. Just like in the pastime of Noah's Ark, I was mentioning it yesterday, and I'm glad Subal mentioned the pastime of Avanti Brahman. I related this to this pastime, but in Noah's Ark pastime, the Lord told Noah, there's a flood of difficulties that's going to come in your life, and everything won't go your way, Noah. You have to build a ship, build character. And so sometimes we see that Mother Queen Kunti says, actually Subal mentioned a pastime of the Avanti Brahmana. One Avanti Brahmana, he was very, this pastime is in 11th canto, chapter 23, I believe. The title of the chapter is called The Song of the Avanti Brahmana. And I was actually reading this morning to reflect on it. And in this pastime, the Avanti Brahmana was a householder at first, but he was very disrespectful to his wife, very disrespectful to his kids, and he was lusty, angry, greedy. He did so many sinful activities. And so long story short, his family abandoned him. He lost all his wealth. Then he became a sannyasi, a monk. He was sincere in becoming a monk because he says, I have no other source of happiness, so I need to take shelter of the Lord, build character. And so when he became a sannyasi, everyone called him a charlatan. You're only a sannyasi because you lost everything and you're pretending to be a monk, so you need to make a living. And so people would insult him, criticize him, harass him, spit on him. They even urinated in his food, but he was undisturbed. He was completely undisturbed and tolerated all these difficulties because he essentially says, I'm less concerned about my karma and more concerned about my dharma, building character, just like Noah. He built a ship, and Krishna, he gives us an app. You should build character because there's a flood of difficulty that's coming in your life. But the problem is that when we're too intoxicated by, the beauty, the wealth, our position. What need is there to build character? I'm too cute to have negative karma, but we see that natural disasters are like Krishna. They're like Yamaraj. They're like Mother Earth. Mother Earth, Krishna, Yamaraj, they're free from the molds of material nature. There's a verse that says, just as a spider is never entangled by its web, so the Lord, Yamaraj, Mother Earth, natural disasters, they're never entangled in the web of material existence. That means they don't care about your beauty. I've never seen a flood approach, a personified flood approach a beautiful woman and say, wow, you are so beautiful. Now I'm not going to kill you. And we see that you can't avoid your karma. It doesn't matter how beautiful you are, how rich you are. And so if I had to ask a question, what are some steps we could take to follow the path of Noah? He was humble. Okay, yes, I believe you, Christian. There's a flood of difficulties that's going to come in my life. Same in the Bhagavatam, the great saints. Lord, there's a flood of difficulties going to come in life. It doesn't matter how beautiful I am, how rich I am, how educated I am. And so what are some steps we can move forward if we're intoxicated by things to build the ship of our character? Anyway, I'll end with one last quote. There's a nice quote that says, ships don't sink because of the water around them. Ships sink because of the water that gets in them. We can't stop everything on the outside, opposition, criticism, rumors, or karma. But if we allow what's on the outside to get on the inside, then we'll sink into depression, fear, anger, and vengeance. And in this pastime of the Bhakti Brahma in 11th canto, chapter 23, verse 5, Bhaktisiddhanta says that when somebody gets a whole flood of difficulties and criticism, they never blame others. But the tendency is that when we're intoxicated by beauty, fame, we blame others. The Bhakti Brahmana, his food was urinated in. When we disagree with devotees, we file complaints. We complain, this. So what are some steps we can move forward to develop this humility to, build character and get serious about hearing Bhagavatam or reading the Bhagavatam? Everyone knows whether they're serious or not. So for those who, aren't inclined to get serious and then criticize others, what are some steps we can move forward to, what's the impetus to build that character? So anyway.
Thank you very much for this many wonderful points and many nice questions too. But I think it seems to be the main question is in preparation for the difficulties which most devotees have. Sooner or later they get some difficulties that they have to overcome, which make them stronger and more attached to Krishna. So what can we do in preparation for that? And another question could be, what I'm getting from what you're saying is that if you're already intoxicated with and you're already very well, let's say practicing devotee, sometimes they get a little bit of a false ego here and there, and then they don't notice it, so they have no way of trying to fix it unless someone points it out to them. So that could be another question, like if in preparation for some difficulties, what can you do? Or when you're already in the difficulties, you're experiencing the difficulties, if you're trying to protect yourself, from that, because if you're already in that mood of intoxication, then you may not even reach out for help unless the material nature shakes you up real bad, and then you wake up. You won't even listen to other devotees. But let's say I answer this one question. What can you do to protect yourself from that hurricane, from that may be coming? Like I think I mentioned some weeks ago about the dark night of the soul, like a very difficult time for a spiritualist, for a bhakti yogi. There may be a difficult time in their life. So how do you build, like in your words, how do we build a strong ship that doesn't get that water inside? No matter how high the water goes, the ship is very durable and it doesn't have any holes in it, and it doesn't sink. Well, chanting is a good answer for anything. Just chant sincerely, and then the question is how do you chant sincerely? And I remember my Guru Maharaj mentioned in one of his newsletters or seminars. I think he mentioned that it is sometimes good to read the prayers of composed by other Vaishnava devotees who were really humble and were really appreciating the mercy and the position of this jiva soul in the material world. And there's so many nice prayers composed by our Vaishnava acharyas, and it is good sometimes to read those prayers before we even chant, so we have an appreciation for the chanting. And then when we appreciate the chanting more, then we are protected from the false ego, from the challenges. We can withstand the difficulties in the right consciousness. But if our chanting is less attentive and we don't really connect with Krishna that much, then we may still be overcome by difficulties temporarily, but it may not feel great, and we may be overcome by difficulties. So I found that really helpful to read some Srimad Bhagavatam or read some prayers composed by Vaishnava acharyas that kind of give you that mood of surrender and mood of appreciation for the Lord's mercy, for His holy name. And then 5 minutes like that, and then I go back to chanting, and then hopefully the chanting is better. Usually it is, and then you're ready to take on anything when your chanting is of good quality. So yeah, reading those prayers is helpful, and it's recommended to read the prayers of advanced devotees who come in the parampara system. So that would be a little hint, a little recommendation to help our chanting get better, and then we can do anything. Thank you so much for your questions and points. Any other questions?
The idea that a poverty-stricken person is actually getting spiritual benefit just by virtue of their poverty is very interesting, because consciousness is such an important part in making spiritual progress. So I guess the question is, to what extent is the consciousness influenced by the forced austerity that a poverty-stricken person has to go through?
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for this wonderful question. If I understand it correctly, you're asking if to what extent is the consciousness, someone's consciousness influenced if they undergo austerity involuntarily, like if they don't necessarily plan on being austere, but it happens and their consciousness is affected. Well, it's a very good question, and maybe the answer may be simple, but maybe complex, because when faced with austerities, different people react differently, and it's based on your consciousness that you acquired. at your level. Some people, when they're forced, they're into in the difficulties, they are rebellious. They don't want to accept it. They fight. They want to change the situation right away. Okay, so they're not really maybe getting so much benefit from that austere lifestyle or austere situation, because they're in the mood of rebelling, rejecting it. And some people who have a little bit more pious background, like Krishna mentions in the 7th chapter, if I'm not mistaken, there are 4 types of pious persons, and one of them is one who is in difficulty. So when difficulty comes and you have this pious background, the consciousness is a little bit different, then you respond differently to austerity. And oh, you know, this happened and I had to be austere now. So I'll just pray to God, and hopefully He'll give me the strength to undergo this and see what happens later. So that response is more conductive to getting that benefit. You know, it's more in the mode of, the reaction is more in the mode of goodness rather than in the mode of passion, and therefore I think that person will get benefit and get closer to God or Krishna. The other person who rejects the situation and doesn't want to accept it, they will be frustrated, and it may take them longer to get that benefit from that austerity, and it may take them longer to come to God. So just basically affected by the previous consciousness that you acquired from your birth, and whatever life affected on your consciousness, whatever up to that point. We are all individuals and we react differently to different difficulties and situations. So it's a very valid point. There is not a clear answer. It just depends. Not a very clear answer. Thank you very much.